Coming up today on Locked On Texas Tech, it's Red Raiders and Longhorns tonight from United Supermarkets Arena, and the stars are coming out. Flavor Flav, Maines Brothers, what won't we discuss on today's episode of Locked On Texas Tech?
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We're going to start this thing off right. Raider! Everything runs through Lubbock.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more, and new customers join today. You're going to get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. So visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you, my man. Apologies for being absent yesterday, but appreciate all those you got to hear from and your well wishes, as now a new Cowan is in the world. Just be on the lookout and prepare if you're anywhere near the neighborhood. But we got a lot to catch up on in a short amount of time to do it, because we're also getting ready for the wine and cheese crowd coming to the LBK here this evening from United Supermarkets Arena. It's Longhorns and Red Raiders. We'll get to that. We'll get to what's on the line as far as resume is concerned. But, of course, haven't had a chance to visit with you either since the return from Orlando, where nothing goes the way of Texas Tech. You're shorthanded really in more ways than maybe you even anticipated heading into the game. And it's just one you got to take on the chin and try and bounce back from at the end of the day. Give the Golden Knights credit as they pull off a minor upset. Actually, I don't know if it was an upset when they tipped things off, but nonetheless, they get it done in fairly convincing fashion down the stretch.
Yeah, my only highlight to Orlando was the weather and getting to hang out with Tony Battie for a minute.
Yes, sir.
That was about as just a tough day. I was worried about that. I'm worried about the next two road games as well, just because, I mean, again, I think we look at the records and you look at net rankings, whatever you're looking at, and then you just also realize this league is as good as we want to say it is, because everybody has got a chance, especially at home. And I think UCF is still playing for something. They were healthy, unlike the first time you played them. You were not, unlike the first time you played them. And it was just too much to not enough. It's pretty tough. We know how thin your team is, but at some point on Saturday, you've got Devin Cambridge, Chance McMillan sitting over there in street clothes, and then you've got Warren Washington, who tried to give it a go. He starts the game, plays 12 minutes. It just wasn't really happening, and I think that they don't know if he hurt it or anything more, but it's just like a process getting back. But those three are sitting over there, and you've got EY out there, you've got Lamar out there playing heavy minutes, and it just, Pop and Joe, I think were 4 of 19 from the field combined. And I thought Kerwin and Darion Williams played great. They did everything they could to keep your team in the game, but it just wasn't enough. You couldn't ultimately keep these guys out of the paint. Robert Jennings almost fouled out in the first half. It just was a tough day, and probably it's a 14-point loss, but it probably doesn't give you an indication of how much UCF had pulled away at the end, thanks to a couple of EY threes at the end of the game. But yeah, just that's, we say it a lot, but that's a tough matchup for you, especially when you're undermanned. Even more so, is they just, at one point in that game they had 7 foot, 6'11", and 6'9" out there. I mean, and you were wanting to try to penetrate the lane and like maybe get a foul call. No, we're just going to throw it because what did I see? T.I. was in the front row. Antonio Brown was in the front row. They had some celebrity sightings there. The old Knights, they rose up and then took care of you, unfortunately.
Yeah, I saw the celebration with Brown after the game, which that's definitely the guy you want around impressionable youth. So there's no doubt about that. So if you're a parent, you got to feel great about sending a kid to Central Florida to party with that nut job. T.I., I'm a little less emphatic upon the nut job status there. I guess before we get to the Longhorns, really, because that's just a game film I guess I'm going to burn and just try to forget about as a Tech fan as far as the UCF outing. So credit to the Citronauts for doing what they did, and maybe they'll do enough to make a postseason more interesting than maybe some anticipated. But as far as we transition to the next one, and this is the great thing about Texas being next on the schedule, not having the year that they should or the team that they should or whatever. But anytime you got an opportunity to bounce back with an emotional type ball game like it will be, obviously that can be very good for your basketball team, but got to consider some personnel, I guess, before we really talk about the matchup or the opportunity, whether it's Warren Washington or Chance McMillan. What are those conversations looking like as we're getting ready for tip-off a little bit later on?
Yeah, Grant said yesterday about tonight that, just not real sure until we get closer to the game. I think, Grant said to me after the game on Saturday, we weren't even sure that Chance wasn't going to be able to play until we got to the building. They were just kind of trying to get him comfortable. It's a hip issue. I'll just tell you this. And I think Warren, he gave it a go. He's bounced around pretty good during warmups. And I thought he didn't just look totally out of sorts during the game, but it just was unproductive. And I think, I think that I've seen pictures of both of them with the campers out there who've been out there since Friday. God bless you. Nobody's tent blew away. It's been a little breezy, and we don't call it wind here. It's just breeze. It's just nice just breeze.
That's golf weather, but it's 25 miles per hour.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Just play it into the wind.
That's right.
Yeah. But I think they're both probably really close. And here's the thing: you go out there and you see how much it means to people. You know there's going to be 15,000 in the stands, and adrenaline's a funny thing. I'll be shocked if you don't get something out of one or both of them just because of the circumstances. I don't think either one is like a serious injury. They're more, hey, something doesn't feel right. We're trying to be smart here. And I think that, short of some setback that happened yesterday or earlier today or anything, I'll be surprised if you don't get something out of one or both. And I wouldn't be surprised if both are out there at all tonight. But that's what – and that's the part we're going to miss about this stuff is that you're right. There's nothing like that flat game or just a bad game and you turn right around. It's like, look what we got sitting in our lap here when the Aggies or Sooners or Longhorns or whatever come to Lubbock, and it's like, it doesn't what has happened previously does not matter. We hate you. You hate us, or you act like you don't. And I'm here for it. I'm here for the emotions of it. The horns down, the booing of Brock Cunningham, on and on and on it goes. And so, the wine and cheese folks make their last trip here tonight.
Oh, and it'll be a big-time concern when it comes to the levels of class on display. I know Rodney Terry's probably already shaking in his classy boots thinking about what he might find in the LBK. And I hate the respect that I gained for Brock Cunningham and how much he embraced the hate in the beard return, and then some comments that he's made since about how much he likes playing Texas Tech or in front of their fan base, at least. I don't like that, but I'm going to like it in a certain kind of hateful way. Brock Cunningham. Shout out to the guy who's been rocking that real tight cop haircut throughout the year. I don't know if his barber's just playing a practical joke on him or what, but you got to grow a mustache if you're going to rock that haircut. Just a word to the wise. Texas, as far as on the floor, Chris, I think if alternated wins and losses going back like the last 7 or 8 games, most recently were housed in Lawrence, Kansas, was never really a close one there. They got talent just like I do. They have not been able to put it together. They've got 5-star rankings, but no 5-star culture or whatever way you want to look at it. But we also know it can show up on any given night and the shots are falling and they may make it rough on you. So I'm really curious to see what's going to happen at the USA when these guys get on the floor.
Yeah, and all of a sudden you realize this is a really important game for Texas Tech. Yeah.
First, today's episode brought to you by FanDuel, and the sports calendar keeps turning and the action never stops with America's #1 sportsbook and the official sportsbook of Locked On. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet hits. There are so many ways to spice up any action with their safe, secure, and easy-to-use app. So get to FanDuel.com/lockedon. And if you're a new customer, take advantage of $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet with FanDuel at FanDuel.com/lockedon, official partner of the NBA.
Yeah, and all of a sudden you realize this is a really important game for Texas Tech. Yeah, there's all the sidebars to this thing. We got Flavor Flav in town. 911 is a joke, and we've got you've got Texas making their last trip here. The antics are going to be there with the horns down and the animosity and all this stuff. And it's a blackout, from a what you're supposed to wear standpoint, all that. But bottom line is you need a result here. And Texas, they are good enough to beat you. And you're right. They've been what Texas has been good at this year is being inconsistent. They're not, like, you look at them statistically, they don't struggle at anything, but they're not great at anything, which is kind of why their record is what it is. They're 17-10. On the season, they're 6-8, I think, in conference in the league standings. So they're just kind of, and they've won 2 in a row and they've lost 2 in a row twice. And so, but other than that, it's just up and down, up and down, up and down. And I think the thing that you beat them on the first time you played them was you just shot it better than they did. And I think that the thing, if you look at them statistically, their game versus Kansas over the weekend, statistically they hung in a lot of categories, but Kansas shot it 20% better, like 61-41. They just made shots. And that's what is concerning me about this Texas Tech team right now is that, yes, we have seen different paths to victory, getting to the free throw line, hanging on the glass, low turnover. But I just don't know if you can continue to do that if you can't make shots. And right now you're struggling a bit. And that doesn't go with it. It's mainly focused on Joe and Pop. And it's not necessarily fair to single them out, but they are two of your top scorers. And, like they got outscored by 20 points by the guard tandem from Central Florida in Johnson and Sellers. 31-11, I think it was. And again, it's not necessarily fair. It's just kind of the way it goes. And that's part of comes with the territory with playing, I think, 39 and 37 minutes. You just got to have something from them offensively. So tonight, if you shoot it well, I love your chances. If you don't, I'm starting to worry a bit about, where we're going here. And it can turn. It can turn tonight because go back and look at last, you scored 82 points against TCU, but you didn't shoot it well, particularly. You really got to the free throw line, and that's where you shot it well. And Texas will put you on the foul line. I think you kind of got to the stripe quite a bit versus them in Austin. But where they dominated you the first game, too, was like on the glass. That's got to be a bit better tonight as well, just because I think they had like 14 offensive rebounds on the first game. And like second chance points was like 21-5. I mean, I just don't know if that can happen tonight unless you just shoot the lights out of the ball, and maybe you will. Maybe you will. It's and that's where Chance would have really helped you on Saturday. Just another somebody to take the pressure off of Pop and Joe, but really they had no choice, and you got smaller guards going against length, and it is just difficult. But yeah, this ought to be a doozy tonight, man. I hope that everybody that wants to be there is there. This ought to be a fun one tonight for kind of a random just Big 12 game, not a league title on the line. There's not a lot of people on either sideline that know each other or that have any kind of past history with each other. But it's the Red Raiders and Longhorns, and it's guns up and horns down. It's all that stuff, and I'm here for it. Pour it all over me.
I mean, other than Brock Cunningham, who went to school with Arch Lamb once upon a time, or was still going to school when Arch Lamb was at Tech.
He's got a relationship with
everybody.
Yeah, that's for
sure. It is just kind of a rando meeting as far as stakes or things like that. Which clearly, when you're talking about putting together an NCAA tournament resume, there are stakes to it. So don't confuse my meaning there, and we'll get to some resume ramifications coming up in just a bit. But it's important enough where, I've been whispering through my previously pregnant wife's belly to the little girl, hey, come on out, 8 o'clock tip, Tuesday night, 8 o'clock tip, when you coming out? She's giving it the good old heave-ho, the push yesterday morning. I'm telling her, hey, got about, I don't know, what are we looking at? 32 hours till tip-off. We're going to get this thing done. We're going to get it done. And the gods were with us. So maybe that'll be the case once again whenever they tip things off at the USA. And the margin for error we know is razor thin, even when Warren Washington and Chance McMillan are on the floor. I don't know what is thinner than razor thin, but that's what it is when those guys are not on the floor. So we all know what that means whenever you're in a game like this. But how about our guy, before we get to the resume part of this conversation, Darion Williams, who has just been continuing to trend up and up and up as the season has gone along, was previously a conference freshman of the year. We talked about that earlier in the year. You're kind of wondering, like, all right, great attention in a smaller league. How does that translate to the Big 12 conference? Well, he's living up to some of that potential and some of that billing. I think 6 straight double-digit scoring games for him. 4 of those have been double-doubles, and that includes like a 19-point effort, a 17-point effort to go along, obviously, with the 30 spot there where he decided not to miss a shot. When you got a season going like you have, I don't want to get too quick to talking about the big picture, long-term future, but Darion Williams is making me think a lot about the big picture, long-term future for him individually, man. He has been on a roll, to say the least.
Yeah, and Kellen, I'm not so sure that as we've seen it kind of roll along here, that he's not, your MVP, your MIP, your maybe a first, second, third team type guy in the Big 12 conference, just because he just fills up stat sheets. He's starting to do it now more consistently and on a bigger scale as far as some of the numbers go. He does it all within the flow of the game. It was amazing to me a couple weeks ago when he went for 30 and he had a perfect night and he wasn't even Big 12 Player of the Week that week. I'm like, but that speaks to the kind of league that you're in. And and obviously had you beaten Iowa State on the weekend and he had a good game, he probably would have. But it's been very impressive to watch him play, and he's kind of taken the next step. This was statistically a modest player from a statistical standpoint last year at Nevada. I think he has really emerged against much tougher competition night in and night out. He figures things out. He's a big time teammate and he's just kind of been old faithful, been durable, plays a ton of minutes, plays a variety of roles, does a variety of different things to help his team. I'm a huge fan of his, and I hope that if he continues this, that he gets the accolades that should come with it, after the season's over, because there were times on Saturday where he single-handedly kept you in the game, and doing all he could, and whatnot, whether it was around the basket, on the glass, or perimeter oriented or whatever it was. I mean, he is just he is somebody that I have really watched and enjoy compete. And again, you're going to need more out of him going forward here.
Yeah, he's gutsy for sure, and he's one of the few guys I remember from Saturday that was taking it right to the chin of some of those Central Florida sequoias, which is, I think, it's all I've ever known to do when you're outsized like that. Maybe contrary to what your instinct is, but that's what they want you to feel like. Like, no, we can't go in there. But a couple of times I remember him taking it right to the chest, and sometimes it fell, sometimes it didn't. Sometimes you get a call, sometimes you don't. But certainly appreciated that, and you're going to need every bit of what he can give you, which has been multifaceted to this point in the season whenever you square off with the Longhorns. Chris, I know that after, I guess, the Texas Christian win, depending on what prognostication you're looking at as far as resume is concerned for the NCAA tournament, some would say you get that one more win, then you're a lock for the tournament, that win being the one against the Horned Frogs. And I still think as far as bracketology, I see Texas Tech in a very safe spot as far as tournament inclusion. But I do still kind of wonder what is on the line because, whether it's Central Florida or whether it's even somebody like Texas, the margin for error, I think, resume-wise, is more so on Texas Tech, is it not? I mean, more to be lost, I guess, than gained, or maybe I'm misunderstanding it. But how do you see it from a resume implication standpoint?
Yeah, and you mentioned Texas. I mean, they're in right now, according to most, but they've got 4 games left, 2 on the road, 2 at home, and I think they play, obviously in Lubbock, but they also have a trip to Waco, I think, and then they host the 2 Oklahoma schools. And so, like this game tonight, though, the pressure really it's on you because you're the home team. You need to get this one because the Baylor one is going to be a nightmare for you on Senior Day. And I just would caution the folks. Like, I know what it looks like in the standings. I mean, I'm last night West Virginia got it taken to them by Kansas State, and it looks like the wheels are coming off. But they've beaten a lot of good teams at home. And Oklahoma State seems to be playing much better basketball right now. So there's just nothing that's a given about those 2 teams. And you're not going to have 15,000 strong rooting for you. So you need to take advantage of it tonight. I mean, I want to say that you're comfortably in right now, but Steve, the thing is like the season's not over. You've still got could you play your way out? I mean, maybe.
Possibly.
I just I think that the next conference win is where I start to feel again, and I can have these conversations, you can too, and but they won't talk about it internally. But you get to 9-9, like at a minimum, and your next conference win would give you the 9th conference win, and then if you were to lose out, you're at 500 at worst. And I think that it gets you in. And if you win and then lose out, that means you're on a 3-game losing streak to finish up the regular season, but you are 500. And I do think that's enough. Now, you may not like your seating as much. You may, be sent off to who knows where. Heaven forbid you get sent to Dayton in the first 4 or anything like that. But, I do think 9-9 gets you in. But I think we're all hoping for a bit better than that. But I just don't know if you're, in right now as in you could lose out and you're still going to make it in. You could be, I just don't know if I'm there yet.
Don't want to leave it up to that.
No, I don't want to go 8-10 in this league and say let's go to the conference tournament with a 4-game losing streak and let's try to get one in Kansas City. I just don't want to operate that way. But yeah, your net ranking dropped about 10 spots after that loss to Central Florida. Texas is just below you in the net rankings, so you're not going to get a ton of credit for winning this. And then obviously the West Virginia and Oklahoma State, their nets are a lot lower than yours. Yeah. Now those are road games, but that's what the numbers can do to you, depending on if you start fiddling with some of this stuff and drop some of these games.
Well, I'm kind of thinking about this also along the lines of these injuries that we've got to consider. First, today's episode brought to you by Gametime, and you shouldn't have to sweat it out when buying tickets to your favorite events. And with Gametime, you never will, because it's always a breeze using the Gametime app, where you're going to find killer last-minute deals, views from every seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Gametime has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event and even an hour after it begins, which means Gametime is the place to find last-minute seats to any event. Gametime also the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets, but not just fast, also secure and simple to use. So right now, download the Gametime app and create an account and use our promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Again, download the Gametime app today and use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Last minute tickets at the lowest price, guaranteed with Gametime. I'm kind of thinking about this also along the lines of these injuries that we've got to consider, because if we're talking about them as not, extremely significant or something like that, I don't know if that, puts in some folks' heads like, well, they're kind of playing with that because they feel secure, or playing with, whatever, because they feel secure about their tournament resume. We probably shouldn't take it that way, right? Or does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I think they're trying to be smart with these kids. I mean, that's the problem with when you've only played 6 or 7 kids and you're starting to play kids 35, 38 minutes a night. They break down, they have a harder time. It's this league. I mean, again, I see it in person up close. It's just a monster, and you get beat on. You take, you go to the floor a bunch. We've seen the way it's officiated. They let a lot go, and it takes a toll on you. And then you start thinking about it, which is maybe what some of your guards are. Do I take the shot? Do I not take the shot? I mean, all that goes with it. But I think they're just trying to be smart and trying to do right by the kid, but also trying to ensure that you get them for the stretch run here. And so you can have your team as a whole, as opposed to putting them out there too early. And then it's like, okay, well, we screwed it up. And now we're going to, we've made it worse or whatever. So there's all those conversations that I'm sure that have gone on, but there's nobody that's going, hey man, we're good. Take a night off. No, I it's not like this isn't load management like in the NBA or anything at all. You've got a legitimate hip injury and a legit, I think a toe or foot or something injury with Warren, but they're not devastating to where it's like, okay, you're out for the season, you're out for a couple of weeks. No, these are kind of game to game type stuff right now, but you're just trying to weather this storm. But that was the biggest thing on Saturday, man. I asked Grant, like, isn't this really just about getting your team healthy? And he's like, yes, it is. However, we can't gloss over some of these things that we've got to get better at. But maybe some of these minutes that, EY and Lamar and Robert Jennings are having to play, maybe there's a benefit there in the coming weeks because you may need them in a key spot. And they've certainly seen, there's going to be some of these NCAA tournament games that are much easier on paper than a Big 12 game. That's just the reality of it. But
I guess that's true, yeah.
Yeah,
possibly. I feel like Coach McCaslin is just one step away from talking to you like Cousin Eddie in a post-game interview and saying, hell, Chris, quit being so damn polite. We sucked in this area or that area. Well, what about health? Well, that is true, but we stunk here and we've got to be less stinky next time around. I mean, is Flavor Flav like in your record collection, or you just throwing that off the cuff earlier?
I was a big Public Enemy guy back in the day at Arlington Heights High School. That was part of the warm-up song, "Welcome to the Terror Dome," and was it Thunderdome or Terror Dome? What to see? It's not top of mind awareness for me. I remember 911 as a joke. I got a kick out of all that stuff. That was back in the day when I was playing high school hoops, man, and he used to be on MTV all the time. When I saw this, I got to tell you, I just laughed to myself. I was like, I just thought it was funny. I can't wait to see the antics that ensue. I mean, like, it's not Ric Flair like pop culture, but it's like a whole different, pop culture kind of phenomenon. But it's a different, age group client. I don't know, but
it's out there.
Yes,
he's in the Nature Boy territory as far as zeitgeist and public spectacle is concerned, and I can still smell those scenes coming through the television when he was smoking heaters with Brigitte Nelson in a bathtub on The Surreal Life. I mean, that was surreal, I guess is what I would say about that. Well, I got to, put in a plug there and I kind of feel like, I don't know, I'd have to ask somebody, like, did Texas Tech just see UCF trotting out their nut job and Antonio Brown's like, hey, we got a phone number for one of those kind of guys. I don't even know if Flavor Flav wants to be in that kind of company, but I know the company that he should want to be in, as the rest of us should be as well. And that's country music West Texas icons kicking it off with the Star Spangled Banner. The Maines brothers are going to be out there. I got to run into Stephen Kinney, as a matter of fact, last Friday night down on Buddy Holly. And that's always a lucky event if you got a chance to do that. So we got it from wall to wall, bookends, musical icons. Maines brothers, not even, or Public Enemy, I'm sorry. It's just your choice.
You were on your Brush with Greatness tour, man. If you're bumping
That's
into
right.
the Maines brothers, and I guess and then I just, if they hand Mr. Flav the mic tonight, I mean, what does he? Yeah, boy. What does he say? Like, what is And I'm hoping we have the big gold clock around the neck, because that's the way I envision him.
I think that's how they should keep the game time, is maybe just around Flavor Flav's neck. Just put him right there next to Rick Gilbert at the scorer's table, and we'll just all watch Flavor Flav. And you know what? If he needs to join them for the national anthem, I'd love to see him walk out there beside the Maines brothers, say, hey, drop her down to the key, boys. Let's take it off. A 3, a 2.
I hope he's in charge of the Texas just side of the basket, their shot clock.
That'd be all right.
And it's just random on when he decides to start it, stop it, whatever.
Where do you get this kind of star power on a Tuesday night? But in Lubbock, Texas, America.
That's right.
I mean, it is one of a kind. Chris, appreciate the time as always, my man. Looking forward to the ball game. Enjoy the call, and we'll chop it up on the other side.
Yeah, man. Hope to see everybody there tonight. Cowan, thinking about you and your family. Congratulations. And out to you from all the folks. By the way, too, shout out to TTU Trisha, too, that is on social media. I saw her in Orlando very loyal listener of ours. She could not have been any nicer. Anytime you need to go to Orlando, for anything, she'll hook you up at SeaWorld and all the things. She's a dolphin trainer.
The Dolphins.
That's right. That's right. And
Okay.
a tech grad, and great conversation over the weekend with her in person. She sat right behind us in the in the UCF arena and all that stuff. So
The
anyway,
stars come out when Tech is on the floor.
I'm telling you. So yeah, she had better seats than Tony Battie did, if that tells you anything. So yeah, there you go. There you go.
But, something. Dolphin trainer, NBA player. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see everybody tonight. Callan, get some sleep, man.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, Chris. Appreciate all the well wishes from everybody out there. Coach McCaslin, if you're listening, going to be the first Tech basketball game my newborn daughter takes in. So let's just go ahead and kick the hell out of them. How about that? I know she's going to love it. All right. Thanks for joining us, and hope you get subscribed if you ain't already on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss an episode. And we hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.